So you'll see a reoccurring theme in a lot of these stories involve other homeless people here in Hawaii. Um, that's why this topic is something really close to my heart, something I hope to help one day, because I've been there. Not to the extremes of a lot of these people, but to a certain extent, where I've gone to sleep hungry and watched it change my morals, not to the point where I'd ever hurt somebody, but to where I'd steal something, from a store or a corporation, never from an individual. That made it okay in my head. Like, no, I can go take this and then go share it with 4 or 5 people who need dinner tonight. And I was like, yeah, that's for sure okay. In my head, I was like, yeah, absolutely. And anyways, when you combine um, homelessness with an inescapable hunger, and a lot of times these like drugs or homemade drugs, you get a lot of unpredictability, and I mean, you just never know what to expect from people. I've got this thing where these hairs just stick up on the back of my neck if I feel like somebody's coming too close who's in that state. And so I was living at a homeless outreach organization at the time, and my sister was living there as well, and she lived in like the house that was in the middle of the complex. So in the middle of the night, that place was very often like circled, or people would come and sit on the porch or be outside yelling, like just weird things where it's like, hey, she'd text me like, hey, I'm a little uncomfortable, can you come check this out? We called them the night marchers, the night lurkers, because they just would come alive in the nighttime in Wahiwa, was the city. And so I'd go out, just walk around. They usually leave if they saw me or anybody. And this was, I don't know, maybe 5 a.m. It was still dark. We were gonna do a morning workout at like 6, so we were both gonna be awake anyway. And she was like, "Hey, there's this guy. He's like throwing stuff on the porch and he's screaming." And I was like, "Okay." And I was like, "I'll go check it out." So I go talk to this guy. I was like, "Hey, man." I was like, "What's wrong?" He's just screaming, throwing tables, breaking stuff, screaming like at the top of his lungs. And I was like, "Okay, hey man, what's your name?" And he was like, "My name's Mellow." I'm like, "Your name is Mellow?" I was like, "You gotta be kidding me." I was like, all right, we'll come back to that irony once we get things a little diffused. I was like, so I was like, "Mellow, what's wrong, man?" I was like, "Talk to me." And this guy, so, oh gosh, every story I ever tell has like 47 rabbit holes. There's a couple different categories of homeless people and what they do to find purpose or worth. Some people will like sweep the streets of leaves. Nobody asked them to do that. They just want to do it. It's their job they gave to themselves. And other people will pick up garbage. Other people will work out 5 times a day. This was one of those guys. I mean, this Joker's ripped. Okay, he's about the same height as me, for sure. I mean, bigger muscles. He's jacked. And so, you approach it with a little more caution, but I'm like, well, still, no one else out here. Like, this is a job for me. I'm like, "What's wrong, Mello? Talk to me." He's like, "Man, nobody listens to me." He's like, "When no one listens to me, I start screaming." He's like, "And I'm screaming so I don't start hitting things. I used to just be thankful that I'm not out here hitting things and hitting people. I'm screaming because it keeps me calm." And I was like, "All right, praise God. Thanks for screaming, man." I'm thanking him at this point for screaming. I was like, "Hey, that's pretty fair logic. You know that you're about to be at that point where you're hitting things. It's better to scream, so you chose to scream. I support that now. 5 minutes ago, I didn't. Now I do. It's a much better uh, option." And so I was like, "Okay, well, what made you so angry?" He's like, "Well, man, I've been walking around, and I come here all the time, and this is supposed to be a church place and with nice people, and no one even listens to me. They just tell me to leave. They just want me to get off the premises. Nobody even wants to talk to me." And I was like, "All right, well, they might be a little scared, you know. You're a really strong dude, and you're screaming, like you're pretty intimidating. He's like, yeah, man, but still, he's like, man, you're the first one to have a conversation with me. He's like, that's all I wanted. I just wanted to talk to somebody. I was like, all right. He's like, I'm so angry. I was like, why are you so angry, man? And I was like, you know what? I got an idea. I was like, you're angry. I'm about to do a workout. What I want you to do, so I had like a homemade pull-up bar that I made on the trusses outside my sister's porch. And I was like, I'm going to hang from this, and I'm going to swing my legs up. And you hit me right here in this little square, you know? I made a little square for my abs. I was like, you punch me as hard as you can right there. And I'm going to swing my legs up, put them down. Swing them up, put them down. Swing them up, put them down. As long as you're inside this square right here, I was like, you hit me as hard as you can. At the time, it didn't sound crazy. It didn't feel crazy. I was like, nah, this will be good. It'll be a release, a physical release. Oh, boy. So now people have woken up. People have come outside. These are all, you know, like interns, pretty straight edge people. This is a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal for me, but it's definitely a big deal for anybody who's watching and who's at this outreach program. And he's just laying into me. I mean, it's just he's just throwing haymakers right into my gut. And it's okay. This is what I wanted. You know, I can take it. I got some abs down there. I was like, all right, this is good. Get it out. Go ahead, Mellow. Keep going until you're actually mellow, you know. And he goes and he goes and he goes. My sister's there watching now. She's like, kind of looking at me like, are you good? I was like, yeah, I'm good. I was like, I don't really know how long I can hold myself on the bar. I can keep swinging my legs up. And eventually it diffused and I got down and he was like, oh, man. He's like, thanks for listening to me, man. And I was like, sure, dude. He gave me a hug. He was like super sweaty. So was I. But yeah, that happened.